corrections to be noted by the council.
Move for approval?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have two items of old business. Ordinance 2025-2 is an ordinance amending the 2025 year budget that was introduced to the council at the last meeting, and was given a first reading. And it comes before you for consideration of a second reading tonight.
Move we accept ordinance 2025-2.
Second.
Is there any discussion of second reading of 2025-2? All in favor, please indicate by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Second item is the same. It's ordinance 2025-3. It's the 25-26 year budget proposal. It too was introduced at the last meeting, was given a first reading and approval, and it comes before you tonight for consideration for a second reading.
Move we accept ordinance 2025-3.
Second.
Thank you, thank you. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'm still struggling with this budget. I did some research, this week, if I pass this, just to look at percentages of breakdown for our departments. I think there's a lot of great things in this budget. However, when I consider what I have been consistently running on whenever I campaign, as well as what I hear from constituents, is the folks that I talk to are interested in improving our passive parks and playgrounds, our pathways, and our downtown business spaces. And I don't see enough in this budget for those things. I would say that in this budget, one thing that was discussed 2 weeks ago was that where I was speaking of the Parks and Recreation program being a low department percentage of the overall budget. It's about 7% of the entire budget. Last year it was 8% of the budget, but after the increases that are in this budget, it's now down to 7%. The mayor rightly stated that the fire department's also is one of the lower portions of our budget. Last year it was 6% of the entire budget when not counting our debt for the police department and the ladder truck. This year with the increases, it is now 8% of the budget, and when you consider the debt of the ladder truck, it's 11% of the budget. I think it's great that we can spend that much, or that we have an excellent fire department, dedicated personnel. It seems like we've really been doing a lot of improvement there since a recent audit on where our fire department fell. So it's great to see some increase there. However, as we're increasing that, I'd love to see parks and recreation also be increased. I do recognize that we're getting $200,000 from the county for a splash pad that won't be used this next year, but it is county dollars, which is great. However, other departments regularly get county dollars as well, or county personnel to assist what they're doing. I know it's a strain on, Amy potentially to manage the improvement of the splash pad as well as improving our parks. I would propose that we assist her somehow with personnel to manage that. We definitely have community members that are committed to doing what they're asking, committed to helping with improving our parks and doing the research needed to direct additional funds for our playgrounds. And so that's what I'm still rallying, the $100,000 that our kids asked for and that our community asked for recently. And that's why I'm pushing back on this budget. And I don't mean to say take it from the fire, I just am pointing out that the Parks and Recreation does not have much dollars in their budget for this next year when we consider other increases. The entire increase of the budget of last year to this next year is $335,000 or about that amount. And the Parks and Rec are about 5% of that increase, which is lower percentage than most of the other departments.
And are you not calculating in the 200,000?
I'm not in that, and I'm also not for the community department, but no, I'm considering simply the money that the city is putting towards it.
Because really, the city didn't put the money downtown, and really the city didn't put the money into community development block grants. And really, I mean, if you go down that line, but it's counted into the percentage of the budget. So actually, the Parks and Rec got a higher increase with the 200,000 than any department across the board. Of course, it's not a heavily funded.
Right, and the county's not gonna step in and assist our playgrounds, but if we have a fire in our town, or if we have an emergency that the police is needed, the county will step in and bring personnel for that. So that's my thinking in that. The county helps all the departments.
Yeah, it does. But I just showed difference that Parks is actually 450,000 next year. Because of the splash pad.
Okay,
And it's significantly more.
it's around where the fire department is with that extra county dollars. Where the fire department is $420,000 when considering our debt service to the fire department.
Sure.
So I think if you look at this sheet that you've got there, on page 2, you'll see that we are budgeting a net surplus of $5,000 for the year, on page 2 there. So, I'm not in favor of going in debt for operations. We went in debt for the fire truck, but I'm not in favor of going in debt for operations. So, if you are wanting to increase the parks, then you're gonna have to decrease something else. And I don't know that from the budgets I saw that there's $100,000 to decrease in fire, police, or public works. And while parks are important, I think we need to make sure that those 3 are covered.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jen. Where does it come from? It does seem that money comes sometimes from what do we call the account that it transfers over to the surplus?
Well, that's a surplus fund, but that's included in a $1.4 million transfer.
Right, and we decided to transfer a certain amount from the surplus based on what the departmental heads were asking for.
Right.
Meaning it could be less, it could be more from that surplus.
Could be a lot more.
We're at the max.
We're at the max.
But it has, 1.4 is all we can take, according to the audit.
Gotcha. And we're taking pretty much I think one area that, or one suggestion that we've talked about before is, our police department is asking for 2 squad cars. And we'd love to see each police officer have their own squad car. However, I think that there's other ways to do that, and not all municipalities give each police officer a top of the line first, within 5 years old police vehicle. And whether that could be looked at as senior officers or officers that have a certain amount of credentials, they're definitely getting their own, and a couple that are newer officers are sharing a squad car. One squad car is $70,000, so that's one area I could see it potentially coming from. I think I'd need to get, have the dialogue with the departments further, or have our council say, yes, the parks are important, let's circle back and look at where we can get even $50,000 if we can't get $100,000. So that's my thought.
Any other discussion? Question? All in favor of approval of second reading of 2025-3, please indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Shows 5-1. Okay, we introduced 3 new ordinances that are sort of dependent on what you just passed with a second reading of the budget. Was assumed that there would be a 5% increase in the water rates for Wilmore, High Bridge, and Southeast to fund the budget you just passed. But it does take an ordinance of the council to do that, to increase those rates. So those are before you. While they're new business, they are contingent business to what you just passed. It's ordinance 2025-4, 2025-5, and 2025-6.
So move that all 3 are discussed and voted.
So discussion of the move of a 5% increase in those 3 ordinances for all 3 entities that use our water. Being none, question, all in favor of approval of first reading, please indicate by aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Can I ask a question? Is there any reason why we do this order? Cause it seems like since these are in the budget, should we not be passing these before we pass the budget? I know this is the sort of the order we've always done, but I'm just saying in the future, should we present these prior to passing the budget, or is there a reason that, like, do we have to go in this order, or would it be too early to pass them if we did them in like May or something?
Yes.
It would be too early, okay.
No.
Oh, would it be too early? Okay.
You could increase those anytime the council.
And just have them effective in the new fiscal year?
If you're gonna put them in the budget, it's obvious that you expect the revenue comes from that.
I mean, maybe it's fine to do it, it just does seem like you had asked about that, and we usually, a lot of times we'll pass them in July, and it's like the budget's already passed, and so if these didn't pass, then you've got a budget that doesn't work, so, okay.
Budget doesn't work if you don't pass those.
Right. So, I just wondered.
Makes them forces them to say yes, even though.
I guess it could say no.
Jim's suggestion is that just part of the ordinance passing of the budget is that
In the
those
future,
are all
just make it part of the budget.
part of the
Oh, okay.
budget,
Just do it all at the same time.
all is one word.
Okay.
Thank you. Doesn't show on your agenda, but we have had some discussion of, impact fees and having those, go up. Today I looked up what $1,000 impact fee, in fact, I think Kim's sitting back there that actually brought those to the council some, nearly 20 years ago. And what $1,000 impact fee would take $1,886 today to equal the same amount. So the proposal that we are putting before, will be putting before the council would be to increase those to at least 2,000 per unit. That goes 2,000 water, 2,000 sewer, 2,000 police, 2,000 fire, 2,000 to, who did I miss? Parks and Rec, which is a major funder of projects. So, sorry, Amy.
You listed each, you're not saying that it's 2,000 to each of those departments, not like it's $1,200.
No, it's $10,000. Right now, if you build a new house,
Yeah.
you're gonna pay $5,000.
Okay,
We're saying that should go to $10,000,
okay.
because that fee was
I was
based on.
confused by 1,000.
1,000 goes to each
Each
right now.
of the five, okay.
But that, because we're anticipating some houses where we got 9 getting ready to go in, too late on those. But before any more were to happen, or any major developments, that would be.
Definitely makes
placed.
sense.
And those are major funders. In fact, the last fire truck you bought, you used the impact fees. You didn't take any money out of the city's budget. The granary building that we bought, that we're doing right now, $750,000 CDBG on, was funds we borrowed from Parks and Recreation. And police cars and others have been purchased in the past. So that could relieve, if we could build houses, that could relieve some of the pressure on the general budget. That the idea is that new growth pays for growth. New growth pays for those services, that water lines have to be expanded, sewer lines have to be expanded, fire trucks, police cars, Parks and Rec. So that new developments pay for that instead of old development. So it's been 20 years since we have addressed that. We adopted that 2004, Kim? So we're talking about 21 years ago. And, so we're gonna bring that to you as a proposal, just didn't want you to be surprised. We will write those ordinances up, it takes some ordinance to do that, similar to what you passed. Didn't know if that was the right amount, if you see more aggressive treatment of that than that. Some say it impedes growth, it didn't before. And for every house that's been built in the last 20 years, $5,000 is gone. But 20 years ago, houses were being built here for 100,000, 200,000. Now they're 300, 400, 500,000. So it's a small piece of the cost of building a house would be the impact fee that would go to our departments to help fund those. Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify, we do have 3 development plans that this would not affect them. The increase, is this correct? Rose Glade, Forest Creek, Everhard, and the Bicknell property, so.
Well, I would beg to differ with that.
Pardon me?
I would beg to differ with that. That it-
Okay, well, if they have a development plan that's been approved,
they haven't built a house.
okay,
I mean, I think that's the whole point of having this discussion.
because
That's my
those
personal
fees have brought in not $1 million, but at least $700,000. So if each council could bring that in, we could build a bunch of parks.
When that was passed, we didn't delay that. We only said anything that is approved by planning and zoning and has a development plan or has a building permit is exempt from it, but beyond that, they paid the $5,000. So I mean, there's been no development at any of those at this point.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't think it's urgent to pass this, but, you know, Asbury College has a development plan, but other houses are not in their development plan, but we should include those to collect that fee on those. I mean, these are already bulldozers, but the new ones that will go on out to 68 certainly shouldn't be impacted. But I appreciate your insight to that.
Harold, I think it's likely that we're gonna have less growth in the next 20 years than we did the last 20 years. I don't know, maybe Woods Point was just finishing up during the last 20 years. I don't know if it was exactly 20 years
Talbot
ago.
has been in the last 20.
So I mean, I definitely think that makes sense, especially as you consider what $1,000 value was to now. I wouldn't have a problem going a little higher than that.
We'll bring it to you and we'll have that discussion. It's a council decision. Okay. At this time, I'll take any public comments, and then we are going to have a closed session as requested by our attorney, concerning possible litigation. And so we'll end our meeting. We will, have a closed session and ask the audience to step out in the hall. And if you wanna come back, we'll come back into session and continue the meeting to adjourn. But, we would have a closed session for the litigation part. But I would take public comments if there's any right now.
Has there been any new consideration for microphones?
Right there.
I know.
Not for you.
That doesn't help us hear you all.
You don't hear me?
I
Couldn't
hear
hear
you,
Jim at
we
all.
can't hear Jim at all, we can't hear Wes at all.
Oh, Wes didn't talk to me.
Yeah, it's hard to hear some of you all.
We'll try to yell.
What do you say?
Try
It
to
might
yell.
be cheaper to get you fixed than us.
He said he doesn't get it, maybe, that's what he said.
I don't hear well, but I'm sure I'm not the only person that does.
My husband quit coming because of that. So I tell him what you can hear.
We hear you loud and clear.
Are you sure? Cause we brought this up before.
Well, but we did this so that
Right.
people could come and speak from there that wanted to speak to the audience.
Well, we had extra money at the Community Development Board and talked about providing microphones for y'all so we could hear, but we were told that Vince was handling that,
Yeah.
so.
Or is that a request that has to be made to a department head to then get approved?
Well, if you have extra money, maybe we've over budgeted a little bit. Maybe we can move a little of that somewhere.
No, we didn't over budget, we're good at our job this year.
Don't take it personally. Thank you all. We will take that under advisement of the council as to how you wanna go with that. But- So are you suggesting an each person here, or how do you hear the audience?
No.
We need to hear you all. We can hear you, Andy's usually easy to hear, but that's it.
We had talked about a possible configuration of one microphone at each table or something like that, but then we were told Vince was handling all that,
Yeah.
so,
Well, this was the attempt to handle that.
yeah.
That's not enough. We can take another attempt to handle that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And you all will speak up, right?
You didn't hear me?
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't hear
No,
me?
can't
Not
hear
at
you
all.
all,
We
Jim.
can see your mouth
Maybe
moving,
we should
that's
just
about it.
personally microphone Jim, we'll get him a personal.
Yeah.
I can hear you.
No.
You can hear me, Jeff?
We all have different ears.
All right.
No.
I'll speak louder next
Well, we're sorry you can't hear us, and we'll try to fix that somehow. That's best. So, our attorney has asked for a closed session.
And for the record, Mayor, it's pursuant to 61-810 for potential litigation.
Move we go to closed session pursuant to what you just said.
Second. Again, we will come back into session. If anyone would like to wait, you're welcome to come back.